Holy return from hiatus, Batman! Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And we're back after a long trip traveling and studying the art of heroism to talk about a show that BlueDragonFive has been a fan of for a long, long time, and I am discovering for the first time. Dragon, you and I, back in this channel's infancy, like back in the first couple years of this channel, talked about the first 10 episodes of Batman the Animated Series. And now it is back. We're finally getting back into it. The Animated Batcave, the show where you are my guide through Batman the Animated Series as I experience it for the first time, my friend. How does it feel to be back in action?
Well, again, Tiki, anytime I can talk about Batman the Animated Series, I'm part of me is just really happy.
Yeah.
So you see, folks, just basically to summarize, that long ago I made a vow to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham in a way. That's what kind of leads us down this windy path of talking about Batman the Animated Series, kind of episode by episode. Just kind of, you get the view as my little protege here, my little bat Padawan grows and learns, and he becomes educated in quality Batman.
Oh God!
Yeah, what episode are we talking about here? And it's been 11 episodes, by the way, not 10. So we're on episode 12 right now. What's it called?
I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. Tonight it is called "It's Never Too Late."
Which is very appropriate given how long it's been since we've talked about it.
I know, right?
Almost as if we planned it that way, huh?
Oh, I see what you did there. Oh. Anyways.
What'd you think of this one?
Dragon, I actually surprisingly liked it a lot. Like, this is one of my favorites out of the stuff we've seen so far. I think it's a very understated Batman episode, but just all the emotional context behind it, the flashback stuff, the way that they use the train imagery and symbolism, not to mention what Batman's actually doing. I think it's all just really, really good storytelling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this one, surprisingly, this one was written by, just to kind of go through kind of our credits here, bona fides. We got Tom Ruegger. Tom Ruegger wrote this one, and famous for, of course, Animaniacs, basically all the Amblin stuff he's had a hand in. Mm-hmm. As well as Tom Ruegger was key in kind of getting Batman really kind of in ship shape in the first season, which we're in right now. So again, see the building blocks. Tom Ruegger, I want to say, becomes more busy with Animaniacs and Tiny Toons as the show kind of develops into his own thing. That's why his name, I would assume, appears less and less. But he's like there in the kind of the creative formation of Batman season 1. So that's why he's writing this, and you'll see his name pop up here and there in the first season a lot. Mm-hmm. And but again, this one really impressed you because this one's really, it's not really kind of a comedy heavy episode, really not really like a subtext or anything. It's really just a lot of it's really, I'm surprised Tom Ruegger can really play it straight and emotional the way he does here, because we're used to him being such a funny guy. I mean, his interviews he's funny and kind of light and hilarious, but no, this guy's a real flair for the dramatics, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, honestly, I think this episode kind of sets a precedent for what I know of some of the more emotional episodes, because I definitely think, like I said, all the stuff with the train, I can't get over how well the train is used and how that all weaves its way into the narrative and everything. Just really strong stuff. And you're right, it's all very somber. I mean, there's not really any sort of ha-ha comic relief moments that I can think of. Maybe a couple, maybe like one or two.
Well, Bullock has a funny
that's
moment,
what I'm going to say. Yeah, like Bullock's always reliable to have one or two chummy moments, right? But other than that, really, it's a very somber look into mob warfare and how that can affect a family, and I really liked it for that reason.
Yes, and the reason this episode really looks and feels so somber, Tig, a big reason for that, and I should mention this now because you're going to see this guy's name a lot. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but my God, this guy had a huge impact in animation. Boyd Kirkland directed this episode. He directed, if I'm remembering correctly, he directed the first episode, which again kind of sets the tone for Batman the Animated Series on Leather Wings. Again, he's the one that really kind of, he brings kind of the gothic kind of like, again, just that gothic somber vibe. He really brings kind of the artful kind of the direction to it. I think that's why this one feels
also kind of very cinematic and very noir-esque.
Very 30s cinematic in a way.
Sure,
very kind of 30s, early 40s cinema with his direction in this one. Because again, it really, I think Kirkland just played so well to the timeless vibe of of Batman the Animated Series. It was always kind of set around the World's Fair sort of era.
Right.
Again, unofficially, it's always been kind of the World's Fair, even though they have like 90s software, and later on, like season 2, you'll see that. So let me get into the quick. There's not a lot here because again, really the big episodes are where you can find a lot of the really interesting backstories and stuff. Kind of the big landmark episodes. But again, this one, as you said, it's kind of under the radar. It's kind of understated. So I mean, there are a few little factoids I did find out here, and I want to speculate on one thing here is that after this was after the whole Two-Face two-parter. And the way we're going through these is kind of the way they appear on the DVD and like on Amazon stuff, which is pretty much is kind of the production order. To my understanding, it's like the way they were produced and kind of in some way intended to be seen to an extent. Because they're aired in a different order. But I don't want to get on that. That we established that from the very beginning. Anyway, so the point is, this was after the Two-Face episode. So I want to speculate that maybe this was a way of showing Batman able to reform and save someone. Like he was unable to do that with Harvey, and now he's able to do that with Stromwell. We see through the course of the episode.
Yeah, it's definitely a very unique Batman episode in that regard. I really like the story context behind Batman. It's not just Batman going and, beating up a criminal. It's much more complicated than that.
Two more things I want to mention here real quick. Again, not a lot. Big thing I definitely should mention here, just in terms of the context of where Batman the Animated Series is at this point, is that Batman the Animated Series is very famous for their Godfather vibe, so to speak, and their classic film references. They love to do that. They love, as I told you, it feels very much like a 30s, early 40s kind of noir feel. Noir, like you said. Because they're modeling this episode after a classic 30s film, and it's called Angels with Dirty Faces from 1938. Okay. That's what this episode's heavily modeled on, with the whole kind of the religious kind of vibe and the kind of mainly the relationship between Stromwell and Michael. It's heavily based on that film. And it has a heavy influence on the episode, but again, also like throughout the series, you'll see, especially when every appearance of Rupert Thorne, there's a heavy Godfather reference. There's always like if not directly from the Godfather, it's just definitely basically the classic thing from the Godfather, where like a little something we've talked about in various other things too. The old Godfather saying like was the little like. You barely notice a thing goes on. Like, again, not just the oranges, but like a little light flickers on or something. Like a little something's off with the sand. Like when in Godfather 2, when Corleone, the young De Niro Corleone, like the light bulb flickers and he shoots a guy.
Right.
It's like just a little something goes off, and we can get to see kind of some homages to that, and just kind of that vibe. The Godfather vibe is in this episode. It's going to be throughout the series, again, with all of our mob stuff, and it's awesome. One more thing I want to mention is that actually, we have a familiar face, a familiar voice, I should say, in this episode. Someone we've seen, though. I don't know if you remember this. If you remember the Draft Dodger episode of All in the Family, you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Remember Pinky Peterson, the older, the veteran pal of Archie Bunker's, who kind of has feelings on the Draft Dodger in question?
Yes, I do.
Anyway, so that is his name is, hopefully I pronounce his last name right here, Eugene Roche. It's R-O-C-H-E, and he played Pinky Peterson. He played Archie's pal, who I found out had appeared in a few other episodes. He's not like a regular, but he's been in a couple episodes, so he's been around. And that is Arnold Stromwell. He's our main kind of guy this episode. That's Pinky Peterson, nice. And he has an excellent job here. Batman the Animated Series, it's famous for getting like actors are real good. They call it, Andrea Romano used to call it a voice with character, as in really good actors. A lot of TV character actors too. Like you'll notice a lot of really big famous voice, not only just voice actors, but mainly kind of actors from like television shows throughout the whole DC animated everything, because they love to cast that way. So like Eugene Roche, he's big kind of he's a 60s and 70s, specifically 60s 70s character actor, been on tons of shows like All in the Family, Kojak, you name it. He's been on a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
Okay, that's really all I got. So let's just dive right into the recap.
Okay, let's do it. So it starts kind of like right in the middle of a mob war dragon. I really like that setup. We have.
I love. There's this really. I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember the beginning where we had like the kids playing outside of Arnold Stromwell's? Again, that cinematic look really kind of takes you through the scene. I love the subtleness on the rewatch of like, okay, kids are kind of a focal point of this episode. It's Stromwell and kids, and there's like a divide there with the gate.
Dragon, that's why this episode is definitely one of the early examples of Batman where it's like, okay, it's 22 minutes, but it feels like a feature film the way that
It is so dense with good material. It's just so
that's what I'm
dense.
saying. Yeah.
And again, this is a classic animated series fashion. I always love when they do this. We have like exposition on the mob war between Stromwell and Rupert Thorne, kind of playing. It's exposition in a really, it's a really kind of a natural way of like, okay, well, how do you learn about what's going on in Gotham without kind of wasting time? Well, the most economic way of doing it, we see what our characters are, how one of our characters is reacting to it as it's being exposited by Summer Gleason on the black and white TV. And again, I love the black and white TVs. However, again, the animated series, as great as it is, it was in the 90s, and again, it was on Cell Animation. You get a few mistakes here and there. Again, they send it overseas a lot of the time. Sometimes there's spelling errors. In this case, Commissioner spelled wrong on TV. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I didn't catch that.
Just to sum it up, there's a mob war going on between Arnold Stromwell and Rupert Thorne. Gordon explains that it's basically Again, I love Bob Hastings, the wonderful Bob Hastings, again, unfortunately no longer with us. He is explaining, it's so funny, two All in the Family actors are on this episode. You have Bob Hastings and you have Eugene Roche. So Gordon kind of weighs in, again, kind of helping flesh out what the deal was between our two mobsters here. It's basically old versus new. No, not in terms of age. It's old versus new because Rupert Thorne probably, I'm speculating this, this was in the rewatch. I never really thought of this until I rewatched the episode. Okay, Rupert Thorne's moving in on his territory now. He's muscling in on the old boss's territory. Arnold Stromwell ran Gotham, and Rupert Thorne is now Kingpin style. Rupert Thorne basically has been operating in the shadows, and ever since the Dent thing, now he's a little more exposed.
Right, like Rupert Thorne is kind of just basically coming out as a mobster and kind of like showing himself as one, whereas Stromwell is more established.
Yes. It's basically Thorne was like dealing in the shadows. Dent brought him out of the shadows, not only just because Dent was like publicly going after him, but of course the whole Two-Face thing. In a way, much like Wilson Fisk, you imagine. Basically he turned Gotham's the promising DA into a monster, which has really major clout in the criminal underworld. Oh my God, Rupert Thorne, he did this. Did you hear what he did? Sure. So that's why Rupert Thorne's getting cocky, and he's moving in on the old boss's territory, saying he's the young encroaching on the old. And we see Stromwell reacting to this, and it's also mentioned, again, wonderfully exposited. Arnold Stromwell, Stromwell's missing, his son is missing. Joseph Stromwell is still missing. We see him smash the remote. I love the overreactions from there, where basically people love. You'll notice this. It's a recurring thing. Batman mobsters, everyone loves to smash a TV off.
Well, I mean, come on, it just makes sense. If you're a mobster and you can afford to replace TVs, it's like I would do that.
It's in my favorite episode we'll get to. It's of the animated series where Batman kind of slams a TV off. It's just from my favorite episode. I just love it. It's here and there in the series, just people slamming TVs off. Let's see. Stromwell believes Rupert Thorne has kidnapped his son, and he wants a meeting tonight. Whenever mobsters meet, usually bad stuff's brewing, even if they're like all pleasant to each other, like we see in the show Gotham. Like Falcone and Moreau, even though like they're hugging and they're saying, "Oh, buddy, boy, oh, you got that judge there in that little glass room."
Oh God.
Oh, we're friends until I turn on you eventually. All of that stuff, but no, seriously, this is like mobsters who don't get along, so that's even worse. We have this is stuff I really rewatching. I didn't really weigh in all the really cool stuff behind this. Is that we have a portrait. Stromwell goes up to the portrait of he, his wife, and the young version of his son. And it's kind of an odd Bruce Wayne reflection in a way. Like, what if Bruce Wayne somehow, again, not you never would do this. What if the Waynes were around and they kind of fell into criminality?
I mean, the show Gotham has kind of explored that angle. We don't really know how nefarious the Waynes were, but it's kind of explored that idea to a certain extent. So,
and let me say this: I've been playing the Telltale Batman game, and that's an idea that's explored really interestingly. So I think that's another kind of, cool. Basically, if you like this, just the notion of like, what if Bruce Wayne, the Wayne family, kind of went a little more south, and you could definitely explore that in that game. Mm-hmm. Let's see. So. Continuing on, so Tiki, I still am so in love when they do this. I want to see this in the live action so much. We're at Pete's. First of all, I love the fact we're at I love the fact that like a classic monster, you have a hangout. It's a nice Italian restaurant, but it's a little place off to the side. It just has such a local name, Pete's, and the actual guy named Pete actually works at the place, which is even better. Bruce Wayne,
you love the disguise, right?
Yeah, just the summarize. And Bruce Wayne's, actually, Tiki, we've seen this already a few times. It's so cool. I love this idea. I still want to see Ben Affleck do this so badly. I wanted to see Christian Bale do it, but now I want to see Ben Affleck do it even more so because he looks even more like the here's Bruce Wayne, even cooler. Point is, just to summarize it for the reveal, is that Bruce Wayne is posing as a wino. He kind of passed out drunk at the bar while, Thorne, again, I love it's done without dialogue too. Thorne kind of motions to Pete because he has him in his pocket. He just motions to Pete, get him out of here. He's with his thumb, like, hey. Usually wakes him up. Conroy doing his best wino. He slyly plants a little listening device under the table, and he grabs his cane. He's basically playing like the old drunk veteran. That's who he's going for. He's hobbling out there, and basically he's listening in the Batmobile as he takes the beard off. Oh, reveal! Hey, it's Bruce Wayne. He listens to Rupert Thorne's plan. We'll act all nicey nice. We'll act all nicey nice with the talk of a truce. When I give you the signal, again, here's the Godfather thing. When I give you the signal, the lights go off. We got 5 seconds to get out of there, and boom.
Right.
And Tiki, this is something I never caught before. We had a bat transition here. Did you notice it? We had like a bat-shaped like transition to the next scene.
No, I didn't notice it.
That's a fun little nod to the '60s show I never saw before. So. Yeah, they had a little bat transition, like the bat. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so Stromwell is on his way to meeting, and he has to pass. He has to wait for a train to pass. And Dragon, here comes my favorite element of this whole thing: is the flashbacks, the train. I love the train. So we have the 2 young boys, Arnie and Michael, and they're arguing over some stolen candy that Arnold stole. And I love this character arc to Arnold. Like, right away, you kind of see shades of him as a mobster. He's like, soon I'm going to own this city one day,
Yeah, what's really clever about it, too, Tiki, is the fact that right now they're obscuring the fact that it's candy. They're saying, you're stealing junk, Arnie.
Sure.
And it's a thing Batman points out to him later on. Then when we see it later on, it's like, okay, it is actually candy. So we get to see Arnold did have some humanity here while he is still destined on a bad path right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, go on.
No, it's all good. So yeah, we just get that really effective sequence of the train coming towards them, and then of course Arnie gets stuck, his foot gets stuck, and Michael does the heroic thing of pushing him out of the way, which leads to what we assume is, Michael getting hit by the train in some way, and we don't really know the ramifications of that. Dragon, of course, I love how that's foreshadowed. I love how it pays off. It's probably the strongest little story beat of the episode, I would say.
What's really cool about this, too, is the fact that it's the same flashback about about 2, maybe a third time. I know it's definitely 2, because I know we see it play out fully on the last time. So regardless, we see it play out a few times, and it's like not really a lot of added information. Maybe a line or so, but it's the whole we see more of the whole thing play out later on. And I love that. Basically, right now, it's the obscure few, like the big climactic ending of like we know like a sec. I just love this fun reveal. Like, okay, few. We got his foot was caught and he got free in the nick of time. Okay, we're good. Then second train is right down. I just love the reveal of the second train. It always stuck with me. And importantly, we cut to a traumatized Arnold Stromwell in the present. Just looking, basically, they approach a railroad crossing. That's what kind of triggers the trauma. Also, I want to mention this. Literally right before we went on, this kind of occurred to me. I wanted to mention it from this scene. Is that I was just skimming through the episode. I kind of listened to a line I never heard before. Oh my god, that's brilliant! Is that Arnold Stromwell has a line? He's being all like kind of tough to his mobs, to his kind of his cronies, saying, "I made Rupert Thorne thinks he can do this to me. I made this town what it is." That line, Tiki. Think about the impact of that line. I made this town what it is, and look what we just see unfold. It's almost like a short film in itself. Like Stromwell says, "I made this town." He has a post-traumatic flashback to his childhood. It just shows you if he is a representation of Gotham, Gotham is unstable and haunted by trauma, much like Batman is. Batman is haunted by trauma as well. Basically, the city is broken. We see by the end of the episode, as broken as Stromwell is, he's still not beyond saving.
Yeah, definitely, which is, of course, a big theme of the episode. You're right.
I just love that it's kind of summarized in that one line. Just, again, rewatch it, like a little throwaway line I didn't even catch until like a few minutes before. It's like, wow, it's so deep.
Okay.
Anyway, so after again, it's kind of really cool. Like we kind of cut away before we see the whole tragedy. Again, we don't even we just think, okay, second train's barreling down. Then we cut back to reality before we
I
even
mean, I
see.
just assumed that brother was dead the first time I watched it.
No, later on, it looks like he's dead. And later on, that's when we see the real. Oh my God, he's dead.
Right, right.
But anyway, so Stromwell he regains his composure, and we have excellent music as we're continuing on the episode. Excellent orchestral score. Batman's outside the church. He's spying on Stromwell. He visits a father, religious father, not Thomas Wayne. Thomas Wayne's kind of long gone at this point. Anyway, so we can't afford Jeffrey Dean Morgan in this episode.
Oh God, no, he's busy with The Walking Dead.
He's busy with Lucille.
Yes, he is busy with Lucille.
So, Batman visits the father. I love the shadowy reveal of just the father's not even looking up, and then we just see this awesome shadow. If you're gonna have Batman chat with like a religious figure like that, that's awesome.
No, I agree. It is very much kind of that is the most cinematic way to do something like that for sure.
Yeah, we need more shadows, and we need more kind of shadowy reveals in the live action stuff. Affleck, take notes. Take notes. So he tells. I love that. There's such a wonderful mystery that plays out too later on. How it all just clicks together so wonderfully. We don't really know what the significance of the father is until the end. And I love that the clues are there. If you look at the design, it's very similar to what we've seen. Anyway, so he tells the father that Stromwell will need him tonight. That's one soul I wish I could give up on. I love what Batman just calling the father. It shows you like the ethics of Batman. Man, saying, I don't believe you give up on anyone. Please be there. There's the fact Batman's being so pleasant with the father, always stuck with him. Oh man, he's being so respectful. Not intimidating him at all. Because again, why would he? I love how passive and just to the side Batman is in this episode. He's not even he's not the main focus of the episode.
Batman is kind of just like nudging people in the wrong direction, in the right direction throughout the episode.
You'll see that, especially in the one most famous things of this day. It's Harley and Ivy, where basically Batman doesn't even show up till the second act, really.
Oh,
it's all focused on Batman. Works in like the side chunks too. He just works really well. Okay, let's see. So after a little visit to the father, the bosses meet. They're all making Thorne's trying to make some pleasantries. They cleared the room. Again, we know what the plan is. Again, I love that that Batman knows what the plan is, and so does the audience. But Stromwell doesn't know. Instantly, Stromwell, he's just pissed off. He has more clout. He's grabbing Thorne. He's throwing him in the tables. Just saying, give me back. It's like kind of a Harrison Ford thing, like a Harrison Ford, Liam Neeson thing. He's just he's throwing him around. I want my son back. He's demanding his son back. And I love this. I love Thorne has a kind of an ethical code. Like I love mobsters with ethical codes. Like, hey,
right,
just
like, hey, it's like family is not my business. I would never touch family. That's great. Yeah.
You know me. I don't mess with family. Again, John Vernon doing an excellent voice. John Vernon was one of the great grabs for Rupert Thorne because we met him in the Two-Face episode. And he comes back a few more times. You see, he's not in the whole thing, but he's in it just in the right places.
Does he do any other distinct voices? Because his voice does sound very like I feel like I've heard his voice.
Well, you have heard him, Tiki. I know he has like a repertoire. He's done a bunch of things. He's probably been in some of the shows we watched, but I know in particular he was General Ross in the '90s Hulk cartoon.
Well, that's probably not the thing I know him from, but I digress. He's been in stuff like I know him like most for like the most notable things done. He was the dean in Animal House. Okay, that makes sense. Anyways, it's not.
Anyway, one is John Vernon, cool guy.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so you know me, Arnie. I don't mess with families, and again, Rupert Thorne's playing. Again, he's doing what I say. He's playing it nicey nice. He's offering resources. He's look. We'll sit down. We'll discuss this. We'll come to an arrangement. Hey Pete, make some of your famous antipesto again, or pleasantries. Pleasantries, Tiki. It's all about the pleasantries.
Deadly pleasantries.
Then we have he gives him a very. I love this. On the way out, he gives a very Godfather look to him of like, as Stromwell just puts it together, like, okay, wait, now they're both leaving the room. I love as the music builds.
It's almost kind of like Gus Fring-esque. He's like putting the pieces together, and before he can do anything, he's just like, "Oh,
yes, that's yes, you're right. I didn't think of that."
You're welcome.
Oh yes, yeah. It's just that moment of just looking up and like again the music like oh no, it's too late. The lights go out. There's that little Godfather touch. I love the This is such a cool little end of Act One. It's such an awesome way to end Act One. Of like,
no, you're right. That is a very, very good Act One, and I mean, I imagine like cutting to commercial at that must have been like, oh my god, what's gonna happen now? As a kid.
just his realization that he bumps into a shadow, which we know is Batman, and then boom, explosion that only TMS or whichever Korean overseas studio they had do this explosion. Their explosions were really good.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Rupert Thorne and company, so they're going to celebrate. They're basically going off. They see the explosion. Basically, the reason, by the way, in case someone's wondering, the reason they made an explosion is they could blame it like a gas leak or something.
Mm-hmm.
Make it, collect the insurance. You'll set the guy up in another place. He'll be fine. P will be fine. So it's revealed Batman saves Stromwell. They grapple to the roof. We have this fun gag of Batman, is kind of this dark demon-looking guy with a fiery explosion of a background. Stromwell's coming to him. He says, "Where am I?" Thinking he ended up down there. Again, playing with kind of the religious angle of the thing. Like, okay, well, obviously he's been bad. That's where he's going. Importantly, like a bystander, he sees Batman carrying Stromwell off. And Batman kind of showing off a little, I'll admit. Just kind of jumping on the flagpoles. But, he's Batman. He can do that. Then, oh boy, here we go. Oh, here's my guy. Again, this is the action figure I got this year. Oh my gosh, the animated series Gordon. That's where I fell in love. Tiki. It's my first love there. Just yes. We have Jim Gordon. He's dreading the media as any commissioner does. He's dreading the media's response to this. Bullock has a fun line saying, just looking at his hair, and this is a fun meta gag. I didn't really notice till kind of getting ready for this one. Like, I knew like the old joke is Bruce Timm hated the Gordon design, loved the hair. He hated the design for his hair.
Right.
Because his hair would always go off model, so it'd be like basically an ice cream cone on top of his head with that little swirly hair thing he's got. And I don't know if this might be like a meta reference of Bullock saying, "Hey, what are you looking at?" It says, "Your hair. You look different on TV." Kind of a fun meta. I think it might be a meta line because again, it's Bruce Timm. That's why in New Adventures he gave Gordon a buzz cut because they hated how off model that hair was.
Yeah.
And of course, Bullock, voiced by the wonderful Bobby Costanzo, who's in Die Hard 2, for the kiddies out there who may not have seen that film either. Says, "Oh, it's a shame." I'm sorry, do you want to go through the Bullock line?
I don't have it on hand. So
right. Sorry, but it's
yeah.
Shame. They made the best cannolis. Now we have the eyewitness that
oh God. Then
kind of the hippy dippy kind of eyewitness kind of comes up. Basically, the theatrical eyewitness, I should say, kind of comes up and he says, Batman saved someone. He's someone that's there, and Batman saved him. It's like a dark angel snatching a guy from Hades.
Okay, you know what? That is a damn good theatrical way to describe Batman, though. I did appreciate that.
Yeah, importantly, Thorne's guys who've stuck around, they've gotten wind of this, which is not good.
Sure.
Uh-oh, Thorne knows the job isn't done. To be fair, I mean, I would assume anyone in that building would be killed, wouldn't you?
I mean, yeah, it is a cartoon, so by cartoon logic, it's Batman. He can escape from anything. But yeah...
No, I'm not just saying if you were the bad guy. I mean, it's a pretty... You can cut him some slice. Okay, well, there's no way you should...
Sure.
I mean, again, for not just shooting him in the head. I mean, again, that's pretty... You make it look like an accident way to do it.
Anyways.
It works. Anyway, let's see. So Rupert Thorne, he's informed by his guy. He's informed by the aforementioned henchman who just kind of got wind of this. He presumes that Batman, again, as we've seen Breaking Bad, God knows how many times, especially the ending of season 4, he presumes that Batman wants Arnold Stromwell to flip, to kind of snitch to the GCPD and basically turn up. Just try to get in witness protection. Basically, the end of Goodfellas, try to get in witness protection and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Which basically leads to Thorne giving the order, okay, find him and kill him. Find him and kill him because, of course, we don't want a mobster turning is the worst thing possible because it ruins all the other operations. Really bad. Check the train yards, which is very important because it's so neat that Stromwell, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be flabbergasted by this. This episode's so brilliant to me on the rewatch because it's been years since I've seen this one.
Yeah, I mean, this one definitely wasn't one you were, hyping up majorly or anything like that, but I do have to say, the more we're talking about it, the more I really appreciate, like, I'm sure there's more coming up. Like, we're just in the series, like, just in the early days of the series still in terms of the actual number of episodes. So, but I think this episode is a very important kind of stepping stone to getting to some of these more dark and mature and layered cinematic episodes that would come later on.
Yeah, because honestly, my thoughts in the animated series has always been season 2 is the best one out of the 3 because that's all my favorite episodes are in. Pretty much all my favorite episodes are in season 2.
Uh-huh.
But again, it's all the iconic ones that end up in all the top 10 lists are in season 2. But again, season 1 has some good ones too, and we'll get there. And there's some really great hidden gems. Of course, the creme de la creme is in the first season. So to be fair, all the good ones, all the ones that make the top 10 list, with the exception of the big one we're going to be talking about in about 2 episodes from now.
Sure.
Anyway, let's see. So, importantly, the reason I was getting flabbergasted is because Thorne says check the train yards. I just love the fact that we check the train yards. The fact that Stromwell is still linked to that train yard out of that trauma.
Oh, definitely.
Because he grew up near those. He grew up in that neighborhood, and he's just still sticking around, real close to. Again, probably where he grew up, but also where that trauma happened. So he's still carrying it with him symbolically. It's like the train that didn't kill him is still trying to kill him in a way. So that's kind of what they're going for. Right. That train imagery you've been talking about.
Sure.
And we have a really cool moon transition of like the full moon, then bats fly across, and then again all these cool bat transitions. Let's see. Again, it's like they're nod to the '60s, like da, 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 but no, it's a much more natural cinematic way.
Right.
Let's see. So Stromwell refuses to turn stoolie. We get the basically he says, "Thanks for saving my life, but I'm not turning stoolie." As he's saying this, Batman just not uttering words. Batman doesn't speak a lot in this, but he says just the right amount of dialogue.
I like how Batman is more of a presence and idea than he is a fully rounded character, because I think that's what we need him to be in this episode. He's more someone who just kind of like the idea of him is what pushes Stromwell in the direction he goes in, I think.
Because again, this episode, it's less looking at Bruce Wayne and it's less looking at the trauma of Bruce Wayne fighting criminals and all that stuff. It's looking more to kind of the state of Gotham. That's what this is looking. Again, it's kind of a little glimpse at Batman's mission more than Batman himself.
Sure.
Let's see. So he refuses to turn silly as this is going on. We have this hilarious bit. So there's a bit of comedy here and there. He basically is tying the bat rope to the side. He basically grabs Straw, putting a little fear god into him. He's like, as he's basically Batman again, he's showing off, put a scare in Straw, all for strategy. He says as he's going down, he just thinks he's literally takes a trip down memory lane, so to speak.
Right.
So speaking of memory lane, we're very many people have had drawn this parallel to it too. I should mention is that it's a very Christmas Carol inspired episode.
You know what? I didn't even think about that until you brought it up. But yeah, I can see it with Batman acting as the ghosts.
Yeah, basically, Act 2 is all Christmas Carol. It's pretty much the Act 2 and 3. Yeah, all to the endings kind of Christmas Carol.
Like it's not exactly like it's not beat by beat Christmas Carol.
Yeah. I'm just vague. Yeah, it was like thematically Christmas.
Sure, right.
I'm just saying that a lot of people make that. I just wanted to acknowledge it because everyone says that about this episode. They always say, "Oh, it's the Christmas, such a Christmas Carol thing." It does.
God, let's do this for Christmas in July next year, Dragon.
No, I actually have. There actually is literally a Batman book that is all about. It's a parody of the Christmas Carol.
I can believe it. We'll
talk about that at some point. Well, I don't know when, but we already have a Scrooge thing picked up for something this year. Anyway, so let's see. So again, after the bat, going down memory lane where Stromwell started out as a kid. Again, I love this. Batman just says just the right amount. Again, it's all about kind of Gotham. He is representing Gotham to Stromwell in a way, saying you did this and this and this. He's giving him all the facts. He's not really judging him. He's just giving him the facts. He's saying you were selling drugs. Prove that. Now you're manufacturing them. Prove that too. Nobody. Again, this. I'm sorry. I'm so amazed by. He says nobody. He says nobody twists their arm to take them. I make candy. There's that whole I make candy thing. But again, the whole nobody twist their arm to take him. He just feels so self-righteous, so guiltless right now. Again, very Ebenezer Scrooge-esque in a way. Like, hey, I didn't tell anyone. I specifically didn't tell anyone to take them. Again, it's not my fault. He's trying to discount that. Of course,
it also sounds like a Walter White thing to say as well.
True. And yeah, he's manufacturing that. I think of it. Oh my God! I never noticed the Breaking Bad stuff. I never put the Breaking Bad together.
Oh God.
Anyway, so speaking of Breaking Bad,
Yeah.
drug addiction does come up in that show a lot. Batman, he shows him like, "Where are you taking me?" Again, very much kind of like Ghost style. Shows he basically, I love he drags kind of Stromwell like, and what if I refuse? Basically, you should like a little cracked fit, crunch in his fist or something. Okay. Drags him to the Sunrise Foundation. Sunrise Foundation. It's a drug rehab center. And he refuses, and then Batman persuades him by like punching the wall, making sure, what can hurt? Again, there is a little comedy here and there from Ruger, I guess.
In this, I can imagine this scene was maybe even a little controversial when it first aired. Is that?
Oh yeah. Well, we saw with Underdwellers, they were kind of taking on some serious subject matter through kind of a little out there means, where they were taking on some serious subject matter. So again, I think
but this one is a lot more grounded than Underdwellers was, though.
Yes, exactly. I think starting from Underdwellers to The Forgotten to Two-Face to this, we're starting to go in that direction from that onwards, I think.
Uh-huh.
So, but yeah, you're right. This was I believe there was, again, because it was like an anti-drug thing. I think there. Again, I told you way back when, is like Gene McCurdy was really like the best network executive you could have, and that she allowed them. She was the reason they were allowed to get away with a lot of the heavy stuff.
Right.
Like this. And that's probably why they really didn't have to face a lot of opposition, because she just kind of shielded them from a lot of that, I suspect. Anyway, because X-Men was probably taking a lot of the fire, because like, hey, you have a guy with knives on his hand, you gotta watch out. I'm jokingly speculative. Anyway, so we have the Joey reveal, which I tell you, that reveal is so brilliant. Like Stromwell a minute ago was just saying, "Hey, nobody twist their arm and take him. I'm not responsible for anything that happens here. You're trying to guilt trip me going to this Sunrise Foundation."
And then as soon as he's staring reality in the face, it's like his demeanor just completely changes.
And Connie's there, as Lovish is kind of sitting there, kind of judging kind of Stromwell there. Connie fills him in what's good. She's being very smartly passive, not in the Skylar White by any stretch.
Yeah, but she does have a very cutting line to him. She's just like, he's like, "Oh, if I find the guy who's responsible for getting him hooked," and she's just like, "Look in the mirror. It's you. It's your business.
Your drugs."
Right.
Oh yeah,
Dragon, I'm sorry. Something I wanted to see on Breaking Bad that just never happened.
Yes, I remember. Yeah, I remember you told me that.
Right. Anyways, I don't want to dwell on that, but
I tell you again, this line right here, Batman just has this dialogue is just so concise, but again, if hers is like cutting in just the right places, Batman's just morally what exactly, like that's the way you deliver a PSA. The way Conroy just kind of says. Helps. Again, I love the genuineness in the plea here. This is before Conroy just kind of went to the default Batman thing he's sometimes accused of. Like, you just go to the dark place. And so this is where he had to work it up. Where he says, "Help stop it, Stromwell.
This absolutely
your power and money has brought..." Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
"Your power and money has brought you all your power and money has brought you is an empire of misery."
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was just going to say this absolutely puts something like Cartoon All-Stars to shame when it comes to like an effective drug PSA.
This kicks Cartoon All-Stars. Sorry, this kicks Cartoon All-Stars in the teeth.
Of course.
This kicks out the meth-ridden teeth.
A joint? Anyways.
Stromwell, on the surface, again, we're going to find this isn't true, but he agrees to shut down the organization. Basically, Babbitt's telling him what he needs to do. Stromwell agrees to all this, shutting down the organization, talking to the DA, turning in the records and files, yada, yada, yada. They're at the train yard, which, again, is where his base of operations is. Again, where he basically kind of has all the documents, all kind of the evidence and stuff. He doesn't keep it at his house, Stromwell Manor we had early on, separate business from pleasure and all that stuff. Stromwell, again... Batman doesn't do a lot, but he's just like, these are fun. Again, just great moments where Stromwell gives Batman the files, and as Batman's looking through them, he's like going for a gun on the wall. And Batman's, I don't know why, dude. This is the most memorable bit for me from this episode. I can't. Okay. I get it. You think it'd be the train? I know it's weird. You think the train would be the most memorable aspect?
Right.
It's always been this. Is because I always loved the early Kevin Conroy Batman delivery of these lines. I always think these are dummy books. Yeah, and you're the dummy. What, you just see these flipping through the books and it's reveal the guns pointed at Batman. Just like that whole again, I told you, Batman flipping through files, usually with a flashlight in tow, is always really cool. And it's more Batman flipping through files.
Uh-huh.
Dummy, the whole dummy books reveal. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so Batman, he's trying to make a case with, he's trying to make a case. He's saying, what about Joey? Think of Joey. And then Stromwell's just like, when I'm finished with
He's
Thor,
in denial.
He's in denial. He's like, I'm going to rescue Joey from the rehab center, and then I'll know that Joey's on the right path because he'll be with me. And, of course, like you said, denial, of course.
And also, too, it's really Stromwell showing his character. Again, he's by all means, he hasn't reached kind of the arc at the end of the episode yet. Is that, he says he still has scores to settle. He had no plans on changing at all. And the fact that it's like calling it a freak ward for, he's not even just saying a rehab. I'm going to get Joey out of that freak ward and give him the help. I'm going to watch him as he gets real help.
Uh-huh.
But again, Stromwell, again, while he is don't get me wrong, you feel sympathy for him. He's not a good guy. By no means right now is he a good guy. Again, he manufactured these drugs. It's not really a nice thing to do. As much as we love Walter White, people, let's put that in context. He's doing a bad thing. I want to make it clear.
Sure.
As much as we do praise the almighty Cranston at an altar, that a blue meth altar, we don't want to. So it's just literally rock candy is like kind of like bedazzled on the wall somewhere. If it's all blue, like bedazzled meth, blue rock candy.
All right. I think
so. Tear gas interrupts. Tear gas from Rupert Thorne and his goons outside interrupts this little kind of existential kind of conversation that's about to happen. Batman throws a chair through a window to air it out, which is just cool.
Yeah.
He takes out a few gum, as he does. And the main thing to mention with the action here is this really great bit that always stuck with me. I love it when Batman does these really inventive takedowns. We see. Everyone knows like the takedowns of getting the Arkham games. This is before the Arkham games. We had really inventive takedowns where it's this great thing where he holds up the unconscious henchman and he makes it. This is such a kind of a Godfather-y kind of touch, such a cinematic touch, I should say, where he kind of ushers the guy forward and he says, "Hey, what's the guy called? Stash. The guy's called Stash. He's holding Stash up, and this huge guy, mountain of a guy hides Batman. And he drops him on the other guy."
Right. Yeah, really.
Let's see. As all this is going down, Stromwell gets away, and we have the train yard chase. Take us through some of this.
Okay, so let's see. Yeah, as he gets to the train yard, he just kind of gets overcome with emotion, right?
Yeah, as Batman's like taking on thugs with Tommy guns, which again, thugs with Tommy guns is so cool. Stromwell trips at a certain point.
Right.
He trips and he's panicking. Then what happens?
And then we see the let's see, Father Michael, or the father. I'm sorry, Father Dragon. I'm sorry, I'm going off of that.
He's offered a hand. The father offers him a hand.
The father offers him a hand. I just kind of spoiled the twist inadvertently, but and it's revealed through the flashback that the father is the little brother that we saw in the flashback.
Yes.
And the father wasn't killed; he just lost a leg.
Oh yeah, because again, the way it's shot, because pretty much it's like the second train. What we didn't see in the first flashback here is that we see the whole thing play out. Where so Stromwell's kind of caught deer in the headlights as the second one's coming. There's no way out of it. Young Michael, the father, he pulls Stromwell, he pulls Arnie out of the line at the last minute. But unfortunately, Michael, he's kind of caught in between the two trains. Even we don't see it in all its gruesome detail, but the fact is the train just keeps going by, and we have this terrifying bit before it's revealed that, okay, Father's Michael, is that Arnie's just yelling to this to the train, Michael! Like you think, oh my God, the poor kid, he's railroad meat right now. But no, thankfully, he's calling him Michael now. Then we put two and two together. You can see kind of the gleam in Michael's eye. Okay, it's the same gleam the kid had in his eye. Okay, it's the same guy.
Yeah, it's a really, really emotional scene, I think. I really like the way it plays out. Just the animation on Stromwell's face, as he kind of goes through all the different emotions, realizing that it's really his brother is, just, oh man, I really like it.
Well, again, more so when this time in the flashback, just to kind of change up so it's not the same thing over again, we have Stromwell in the flashback just trying to say, no, don't do it, because he's seen this a whole bunch of times. He's biting his nails, he's like on the side there, no, don't. And then again, Michael's kind of, now we the audience have put everything together. Michael's kind of coming there offering help to Stromwell. Again, I like that initially the thing that got him to the flashback, he was like, you didn't take his hand, you tossed him away because he wants to keep his brother. he wants to keep his brother away because he's afraid, he might do another bad thing to him. He doesn't want his brother to get hurt because of him because he already saw what happened to his son.
Sure.
So Michael's offering help. Arnold Stromwell refuses again, seemingly like kind of like a prideful thing. He's, no, Michael, I don't need your help. Oh, an empire crumbling, a marriage shattered, a son lost. Yeah, sure, you're doing fine.
Right.
See, this was always a really cool thing. You have the good themes coming into the Batman theme on the side here going on. Like as this like a really, it's so interesting. The Batman's kind of we have a little bit of action going on here where Batman has like this awesome takedown, which kind of drops on two henchmen, like clocks their heads together, and it's like, the cape comes back on. Dun, 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 dun. But importantly, what I love about that is the fact that it's Batman not just taking a guy's like I'm going to take down the mob. It's not that. No, he's doing that to preserve the moment. He's saving their. Not only is he's not just doing it to save lives, he's doing it to preserve the moment so they will get better. So again, not only will it better Stromwell, but more importantly, it will better Gotham by kind of helping end this mob war.
Yeah, totally. Batman's definitely playing with all priorities in play with that one move.
Yeah, he's facilitating the peace conference, essentially. He's making sure he's security for the peace conference going on right now.
Okay, so speaking of that peace conference, like you said, I feel like at this point, Stromwell is kind of like he's realizing his brother's words are ringing true, and he just kind of falls into his arms, just sobbing. And Dragon, I gotta say, man, the performance on just, I'm sorry, Michael. I'm sorry. Oh, man, it's just really, really emotional stuff,
He feels very guilty about Michael losing his leg. And I like that Michael's in good spirits about it. Knock on wood, knocks on the wooden leg.
Right.
And he's asking, I don't know if this is before, I think this is before he cries into his arms, but whatever. The point is, it's really, you're right though. You're absolutely right. So there's just saying like, why, Michael, why save me? Either before or after the crying. He says, why save me? What else could I do? Now it's your turn to save yourself. I think, he hugs him here, so I think that might be a combination of your thing. I don't know. They really, after that, they have like a real nice moment where they hug it out. I think he breaks down in this moment. Then Rupert Thorne on the side, he takes aim, Batman stops him by just jumping, and like kicks him in the face. And then this is really nice. Batman then flees as the GCPD arrive, classic Batman fashion. He doesn't want to stick around. The two, and this is a wonderful shot to end the episode on, as the two brothers
I love the ending of the episode. Yeah, it's really visually.
Take the lead on. Take the lead on the shot.
Sure. Yeah, so the two brothers are kind of reuniting, and we get them almost not necessarily in silhouette, but we get kind of the profiles of them as the police are rolling up, and then we just hear Stromwell say, Commissioner, I'd like to give you a statement, or something to that extent.
Commissioner, I have a statement to give you. And Batman's overcome with, again, Tiki, I've told you this, forget what Kilmer has brought to it. You always have this. The animated series is where you earn the back grin. When the back, it's like Batman looking with satisfaction on. No one can see it. It's just giving that little satisfaction. Again, that whole ending embodies hope for Gotham. Batman's giving a little grin, and we have the shot of the church of again, if you want, I love that you don't have to look into the religious context. It's about a brother who happens to be a priest, happens to be, a father, whatever.
Right.
But I love that if you want to look into the whole religious context, you can have, it's forgiveness, and again, it's forgiveness for a past sin. And kind of our last shot here.
Yeah, I really like that last shot. It was very kind of classic to the core of who Batman is, I thought.
Again, the episode, it's never too late. It's never too late to change things for the better. It's never too late for forgiveness. It's never too late to do the right thing. And all that kind of stuff can affect into the title there. It's a really nice episode. So again, final thoughts, what do you got?
Final thoughts, like I said, this definitely surprised me because it's a very understated episode, but in a really good way. Like, it doesn't have any bombastic villains or anything like that. Batman is definitely kind of a side character in this one. But it's just got some really, really good development for the mob. I like it as almost kind of like a real building element to it. And yeah, overall, Dragon, I definitely think this is among my favorites so far in the early run of the show that we've gotten to thus far in the animated Batcave.
Yeah, this episode, my final thoughts here. I think the episode is very well done. It's very artfully done, I should say. It's very smart as well. Again, rewatching, but still blown away just talking about like things like putting together, noticing. I think it's a very nice example of what a Batman episode can be. Again, with Batman not the main focus, but his actions are in play, as we kind of mentioned. Again, it's all about hope for a better Gotham, which is really awesome thing to play with.
Mm-hmm.
It's very realistic redemption with a Christmas Carol vibe to it. It's a very realistic representation of someone seeking redemption in a way.
Right.
And this episode is like one of the ones that pairing with what you said, it shows why Batman the Animated Series stood out for me. It's shown why this show, they could have episodes like this, and at the same time they could have episodes where well, later on we'll get episodes like a guy who has a scarecrow motif, or a guy with a Mad Hatter who has like Alice in Wonderland themed henchmen. You get all this stuff at the same time. You have like episodes like this, and even those episodes are still like a lot more really awesome stuff melded into. We have various like a variety of different kind of tones and kind of takes on things that you've read in comics that can range from silly to serious. In this case, like it's a wonderful blend of both. It's making things serious in the silliness, or just play it straight, and you get stuff like this.
Yeah, definitely.
One more thing I should mention in terms of foreshadowing, I forgot to mention. Real last thing is that Rupert Thorne, when he has that line, you know me, I don't mess with families. Let's just say in season 2, you're going to see why he says that.
All right, cool.
What am I say? All right, so let's see. Okay, so I guess I'll get into Bill Dozier mode then.
Dozier it up.
We'll tease it for the next episode. Children in peril? Foul play? Or the Penguin? With Batman unconscious, will the episode be any good? Find out. Same animated bat time. Same animated bat place.
That's right. Next time, before we get to one of the best Batman the Animated Series episodes ever, we're going to get into one of the most polarizing ever. We're going to be talking about I've Got Batman in My Basement Dragon. Oh my god. So, yeah.
Next visit to...
Yeah, in the next visit to...
The animated Batcave.
Batcave. Da-da-da-da-da-da.